Welcome to Wellness Savvy's beginner modified lower back and hip training with Dr. Ellen McNally. In this training, we're going to start with some passive, then active lower back stretching, some deliberate hip rotational adaptation training, and then some hamstring strengthening. So make sure you make the modifications that you need to make the training work best for you. And let me know if you have any questions. Let's begin by stretching the right side of our lower back. You're going to stand with your right side toward the wall, your feet a couple inches away from the wall, and we're going to go into a split stance. So that right leg will be forward, left leg back, and lean that right hip into the wall. Make sure your pelvis is squared off. You're going to turn your chest towards the left. So open yourself up a little bit. Make sure those toes are right in line with your heel. And then you're going to lean away from the wall. So you track your left arm down towards the outside of your left knee. And you can scan the stretch from here. So try rotating your upper torso a little bit, flexing away from the wall a little bit to find the area of most resistance. And then we're going to hold that for 2 minutes. Let's begin with some diaphragmatic breathing with a 4 count breath in, nice and deep. Expand that rib cage, fill your belly. And now breathe out for a count of 8. Nice and slow. Release that breath. Help that nervous system and that tissue relax. Breathe in for a count of 4 and out for 8. Breathe in for 4. Expand that rib cage and slowly out for 8. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. You can begin scanning the stretch some more as you relax into it, playing around with rotating your shoulders, opening up by putting your hand on the back of your head, just so you can feel that stretch more deeply as you relax into it. Remember to keep those shoulders out of your ears. Relax the top of your shoulders. You really just want to feel that stretch happening at that right side of your lower back. And with the help of the expansive breath and moving your rib cage, you should feel a deepening of that stretch and relaxation into it. So breathe in for a count of 4, and then slowly breathe out for a count of 8. Don't rush it. Breathe in for 4, nice and big. Breathe out for 8. Good. And now relax yourself back up into tall standing, and we will begin some kinetic stretching. So put the right hand fingertips in the back of your head. You're going to take a nice deep breath in. As you let that breath out, set a full irradiation and pull yourself very actively deep into that stretch as best you can. You might get an abdominal cramp, a hip flexor cramp, that's okay. And now actively use that right side of your lower back to pull you up. No relaxing into this section. We're just going to be working very hard. Get to the top, rest. And let's take another breath in to reset. Full irradiation. Pull yourself down deep into that stretch. Relax the top of your shoulders. Press the back of your head into your fingertips and keep your elbow back. Pull yourself deep into the stretch. You might get an ab cramp or a hip flexor cramp. That's okay. Keep working into it if you can. Work hard at the end, and now let's pull yourself back up to tall standing. Use that muscle now that we were just stretching. Let's activate it. Okay, rest, reset, take a breath in. Full irradiation and pull yourself deep down into this stretch of that right side of your lower back, rotating and side bending. Press that hip into the wall. Press your whole foot into the ground. When you get to that bottom part, squeeze a little more and now pull yourself back up using that right side of your lower back into that tall standing. Rest and relax. Let's go to the other side. To stretch the left side of your lower back, we're going to put the left side along the wall. Left foot's going to go forward. Right leg's going to go back into that split stance. You'll touch the left hip to the wall, square your pelvis off. Then you'll rotate your upper torso away from the wall and then lean towards that right side. So opening up that space on the left lower back. Scan that stretch with a little rotation, little side bending to find the most resistance, and that's where we'll hold that for 2 minutes. So let's take a nice deep breath in for a count of 4. Really expand that rib cage, filling that belly, and breathe out slowly for a count of 8. Relaxing into that stretch, trying to open up that tissue and relax the nervous system. Breathe in for 4. Big breath in, expand that rib cage, feel that stretch deepen, and breathe out for a count of 8. Breathe in for 4, nice and big, and out for 8. Move deeper into the stretch as you feel that you can tolerate, and keep using that breath, opening up that rib cage to help improve that experience. Keep your chin tucked back so that you're not straining your neck at all. You can also press your tongue to the roof of your mouth. That can help you engage some of those neck stabilizers to support you into this posture. Make sure your knees are soft and relaxed. You're not locking them out. Good job. Take a breath in for 4 and out for 8. Good. Now we're just going to go back up into tall standing, and let's move into our kinetic stretching. So move those fingertips to the back of your head on the left side. Press your head into your fingertips. Take a deep breath in, full irradiation. Now pull yourself deep down into that stretch actively. Everything in the front is pulling, pulling, pulling. In the front of the abs, the hip, deep into that stretch. Squeeze into that end point as far as you can. And now we're going to use that lower back on the left side to pull you up. Everybody's working here. When you get to that top point, pause and then relax. Let's reset. Take a deep breath in. As you let that breath out, press that head in the fingertips. Engage everything in your body and pull yourself deep down into that stretch. If your abs cramp or your hip cramps, it's good. I'm going to keep holding that. Squeeze into the bottom as much as you can, feeling that experience on that left lower back, as well as in the front of your right hip and abdomen. Now use that lower back to pull you up in the back of your hips. Feel how actively you're getting up into that tall standing. Relax and let's reset. Take a breath in. As you let that breath out, full irradiation. Contract everything else and now actively pull yourself deep, 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 deep into that stretch. Use everything you got to increase that experience. When you get to that end point, squeeze a little more, pause, and then we're going to pull ourselves back up into that tall standing. And when you get to the top, you're going to pause and then relax. Let's move on to our level 2 beginner cars. So we're going to work on hip rotation adaptations deep in the hip joint capsule and stabilizers. So we want to make sure we maintain a neutral spine here. So engaging that deep core, engaging between those shoulder blades, keeping everything nice and neutral, that chin's translated back. So your ears are lined up with your shoulders, lined up with your hips. Feet together. Now you're going to put your hands on the wall. You can start with them right in front of your shoulders and then move them down a little bit for support. So in this position here is going to be the easiest place to be. We want to make sure that those shoulder blades are pulled back and down. If you want to make it a little harder, just step your feet back a little bit, and that can really change the experience quite a bit for you, make it more challenging to stabilize your core. Let's begin by working the right hip. You're going to take a nice deep breath in, press your hand to the wall, your feet into the ground, and engage that deep core as you bring that right knee up, open up to the side, and now begin rotating the thigh deep in the hip. Control what's going on. Move slowly. Keep that core engaged. And remember, you're only trying to move in the hip, which is not going to be as much as you want it to be. That's why we're doing this. So if you try to force the motion, it's going to go into your lower back, and we do not want that. So only work through the rotation as much as you can without extending the lower back. and move slowly. The slower you move through this, the stronger you are. Let's move into our second rep. So you're going to bring that knee up, open up like a book to the outside, but keep your pelvis squared off to the front as you start rotating that thigh to the inside. Bring your knees back together, and then you're going to kick back to reverse it, opening up, trying to externally rotate that thigh in the hip joint as much as you can, and then close the book and bring those knees back together. Number 3, bring the knee up, open up to the side. Use your radiation as you rotate that thigh in. Bring it around through that rotation of the hip, nice and slow. Try to find new motion. Bring those knees together. Now reverse it. You're going to kick back. Start rotating that thigh open. Try to keep that pelvis squared off to the front. Press your hand into the wall and really keep that core engaged. Great job. Let's do the other hip. Take a breath in. As you let that breath out, engage that deep core. Press your hand into the wall. Bring that left knee up. Open it up to the side and then begin rotating that thigh in the hip joint as you bring that around through the back, controlling it, not going in your lower back. As you bring those knees together, kick back to reverse it. Open up, begin rotating that thigh up and out. Bring it back around the front. Bring the knees back together, and then we'll move into our second rep. Keep that full irradiation, press those hands into the wall, keep that deep core engaged, maintain your base position as you rotate that leg around in the hip joint. You're trying to make change, new change in that hip joint that you haven't had, finding new rotation. Open that thigh up to the outside as you bring it around, back to the front. Bring those knees back together and move into the third repetition, slow and controlled. You can move even slower than I'm moving in this video to really make new adaptation. And as you bring that leg around to finish up this third repetition, put the foot down and relax. Let's move on to our next exercise. For training our hamstring, we're going to work on the right side. You're going to put the chair at the wall, so the back of the chair is along your left side. You're going to put your hands to the wall and make the modifications you need. I put a bolster on the seat to lift me up so my right leg would hang down to the floor with more room, and a block under my left foot to make sure I was stacked. And you're going to make sure your ear is over your shoulders, over your hips. So really try to open up that right hip into extension without extending into your lower back. You want to make sure that you keep your lower back neutral and a neutral spine, the upper back, but you get that stretch in the quad. You're going to press the right hand into the wall. Use the left hand on the back of the chair if you can to help stabilize you. Really making sure you're engaging between those shoulder blades. You're going to take a nice deep breath in, engage your core. Full irradiation. If you want to, you can use less. And now you're going to squeeze that hamstring as much as you can to flex that knee, control it back down to tap that toe. We're going to do 8 repetitions. Go slow and controlled, create smooth motion. Take a nice deep breath in. Set your irradiation to your tolerance and squeeze that hamstring to work on that knee hinging. Slow, smooth, controlled motion. Really squeezing that hamstring. Seeing if you can get it to cramp, because that is going to help that strengthening and that neurological activation. So really give it a good squeeze at the top here. Don't rush it. See if you can get that hamstring to cramp. Just keep squeezing as hard as you can, and then control it back down, a little tap, and control it back up. So it's a small range of motion that we're working, but we're trying to perfect it and maximize it as best as possible. And you're going to use your irradiation, that foundation, through the rest of your body and your breath. Don't hold your breath, to optimize the change we're trying to make. So squeeze at the top, control it back down, nice and slow, tap, squeeze that hamstring to lift, squeeze hard at the top, control it back down. And we got one more tap, and lift, squeeze that hamstring as hard as you can, squeeze hard and control it back down. Great job. And now you're going to do it on the other side. So just reverse your setup.